We're talking once again with Shaun Johnson, of course, with Tonic Sofa, and also Shaun Johnson, Big Band Experience. Talked to last time back in, I think it was 2019, actually, and he came by with the Big Band Experience. But coming back to Pablo Center in the Jam Theater, April 10th, that's a Sunday, will be that show. Of course, there's a new album, relatively new at this point. It's about a half year in. In fact, I think it literally is almost just over a half year old now. Came out back in, September 17th. Made for Her, the latest album. Okay, so we're being a half year in. What's been the reaction now to the album, and kind of how is it sitting with you now that it's been out in the public and it's been birthed to everyone now for this amount of time?
Well, it's an album I probably would never have been able to make without a little bit of time off, because it was all original. It was a bunch of songs I had written, and I realized the common theme and why I called it Made for Her was just all the different women in my life, from my wife to daughters to managers to my sister to just... And again, when I was writing all these songs, I didn't really realize that would be the thread. But now that I've lived with it for a while and we started to put it into shows and we're back on tour, and you get to see finally the response to a lot of the different songs and how people write, and it gets a hold of you on social media and all that kind of stuff. It's become something that I love. And we're actually in the middle of a brand new album, which is kind of all crazy big band upbeat. So it's a complete switch from Made for Her, which is more, I want to say, thoughtful, and a kind of a lot of songs that were probably more emotional to me. So it's incredible to finally see the public response. Which
song has gotten the most visceral response from fans?
I think the one that people appreciate the most is a song called Multiplied by Two, and I did two different versions of it on the album. Also kind of accidentally. I was working with a gentleman out of London on the original, and then we ended up doing sort of a jazz version, the second take of it. And that particular song, I think, speaks to a lot of people. It's just kind of a upbeat, fun song, and it's more for my daughters. But there is a song also on there, which I wrote for my sister, called Losing You. And it was basically written, she had lost her husband, and she had called me one night, and in that conversation, that song was born, just out of a line that she spoke to me, and I thought about it the next day and was writing it. But I realized that song now speaks to a lot of other people, not necessarily in a situation of death. It's not all to be like dark and sort of depressing or anything, but just more of hope, I think, in something that everyone goes through. And so that song has also kind of had a life of its own and taken on certain legs, and I'm getting a lot of messages about that particular tune.
You had mentioned in one of the videos you posted on Facebook about song creation, and this, I think, was in particular, or with a particular regard. I'm trying to think which song it was, but it was the one, the video, and I'm just blanking on the title, but the video with your wife, the song written about her, about songs written about people, writing a song about writing a song.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking. Obviously, you know which one I'm talking about. You said in that video where you're talking about the creation of how the melody popped in your head, and you wanted to hold on to that melody for a while until finally you got the right lyrics, because you wanted to just have the appropriate ones with it, and eventually that came. How frequently do melodies pop into your head?
Oh, all the time. I'm a person that happens to kind of write songs. Everybody writes songs differently, and people write it out of words or people write it out of melodies. But for myself, I have a million melodies on the just on an app on my phone, and I'm always singing into it as I'm going somewhere on a plane or driving or in the shower. I'm like, oh, that would be a good one. And sometimes you come back to it and are like, what was I thinking? Because in your head, you have chords sometimes along with it in your head, and you can't remember those sometimes a week later. And now you're like, well, this melody sounds like a nursery rhyme. So, for myself, I think I definitely come from that. If I can sing something to somebody with a guitar or with a piano or even with nothing, and it works, then I feel like, oh, I might not be the most famous person in the world, but if it strikes people in different places around the country and in different ways without being like, okay, once you hear the final, you're going to like it, but they like it as I'm singing it to them with just a simple guitar chord or something, then I feel like that song is going to work. At least for me, it's going to work in the show. And I'm also not married to a song. If I put out a song and I think it's the best song ever and nobody responds to it, then I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll just keep working, keep doing songs. I had a song like that. It's called Marching Soldiers, and there's a lot of people that wrote me that were, like in the military, and it struck them. But overall, whenever I sang it, I thought it was just kind of like, it was fine. So that's a particular song that I loved, but it just didn't necessarily, hit the same chords with the public, at least at that moment. But of course, there are songs that are hits 20 years later and really mean something because a different artist sings them. So you never know. Might have another life in another time.
Right. All because of you, of course. That was the title of that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I could have said that.
Yeah, I was thinking of like, what was that blank, blank, blank? It bugs me when something is right. Like you've been watching it and then suddenly you're like, oh, that always happens just like right at the worst possible time. Do you hear songs? And I ask this because sometimes it'll happen to me, and I'm not like a songwriter or anything, but sometimes when I hear something, I hear like it's almost like a finished product will pop into my head. Like, where did that come from? Like, all fully orchestrated, produced, like, what the heck? And then, of course, it'll fade off and it's gone. Do you hear things like a finished product? Do you hear just do? How does that work in your mind?
Well, that is a good question. I think it just depends on the song. I've definitely had those moments, as a lot of people talk about, where something comes to you and you're like, I wrote this down in 15 minutes and here it is. And that has worked. And other times I have grinded it out over weeks and months and, sometimes come back to it and it's like, oh, there's something good there, but I just can't find it. Or I finally did a turn of phrase maybe that changes something. So I think it just depends on the song. I mean, you hope for those days that you're talking about where it's like, the whole song comes to you. That's not always the case for me. Definitely, I think I just come up sometimes with a chorus and a verse, and then I have to get to work. And those are the times that I think if you have the time, and in the last year and a half, we definitely had some time where theaters were closed down. I thought, okay, every day I'm going to write a little, and that was something I'd never enjoyed, never gotten to do. And so I so appreciated that time, and it just gave me so many chances to work on things I'd wanted to, and I just really was thrilled about that. So yes, if you come up with a song that has everything behind it and you want to talk to me and we can be co-writers or something, just give me a call.
I might have to start texting you like at 2:30 in the morning. Something comes to me and I'm like, hey, Shaun, guess what? And you're like, dude, stop. It's 2:30 in the morning. Don't do this.
Yeah, I like you, but...
Yeah, but this is limitations here. You mentioned the pandemic and having the time to focus. How did however anyone experienced it, and it varies from location to location too, but all of that, did that affect your artistry? Did you have any changes of perspective in terms of either musical creation or musical arranging or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky in that I felt like no matter how long it takes for theaters or different states, or everybody had different regulations, no matter how long it took, I thought, well, I can come back to music. I had planned for not that, but some sort of eventuality similar, maybe illness or different things that change. So I was all right with it, but so many people I know, and myself a little bit, thought, is this what I want to do after a long time? Do I want to come back to this? Or am I just coming back to songwriting, which I really appreciate? Or am I coming back to helping manage other careers, which I've also done a little bit of? Do I do something else? So I think like a lot of people in creative fields who are kind of waiting on others, because I can't go out and perform if everything's closed. There's nothing I can do about it. And live streams, in some ways, they have their day, but you can't just do live streams all the time. It's not the same. It was definitely a piece of it for us, and I appreciate that. But it was unique because I did think about other things. You have the time to think about other things, and I was never sure if I would step foot on stage again. And I say that sometimes now. We're on a big tour at Christmas, and I've been touring since and a little bit before that. But it is the most exciting thing. I think I took a lot for granted. And now when I'm back on stage, I'm like, wow, every day so far, I just tell myself in the dressing room, tell myself on the way, like, this didn't have to be. So I kind of, every show, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm like, wow, this is the last time I'm going to do this, because I never thought of that for the years and years before that we just toured around the world. And so it is very exciting. I'm sure it sounds cheesy to people in the audience. It's like, oh, really? You didn't think you'd sing again, or you didn't think you'd be on stage again? But it is a very literal thing to me that it's like, yeah, I did not know if I would be back here. I did have moments where I thought, do I want to do something else? Because I like writing and I like designing, and it's not necessarily I have to be singing, and I didn't realize how much I missed it. So now that I'm on stage, I'm like, wow, there is a part of me that kind of forgot in that year and a half, but now remembers strongly.
So if you say suddenly you woke up one morning you couldn't sing, which is a terrible thing to imagine. But let's say that happened. You're like, well, I guess I do have to. So what would be your next choice career? You alluded to that. What would you dive into if you had to do something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've written a lot of songs. When I write a lot of songs and you sell them to people or you put them in movies or different things, it doesn't have to be me. I don't write a song and think, I'm going to make that famous. I'm just kind of a goober doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
So it's not like it has to be me. So that would be one way. My wife and I were just starting a kind of a design. We're both, she has been in design for her career, and I have at times helped people design parts of their houses or different things just for fun, not in any way like I was going to make it a career. But I love that part, and so with her expertise, we kind of formed a company that we're just starting, but it's mostly just with people that we know. We haven't put it out there anywhere. And it's kind of designing, we're very into modern and sort of crazy different styles. So it's crazy. We kind of put the word out with just friends, and now we have projects for the next year or two that we're doing. So I don't know if we'll ever launch that like publicly. Here I am talking to you publicly. So,
there we go.
We'll do it in Eau Claire too. No, but so that's kind of a life of its own, and I'm interested in where that goes. And I love working with my wife. We got to work on a lot of things, from videos to pictures to marketing to all sorts of things with big band that she helps me with. And people are always saying to me, "Oh, who did that video? Who did it?" It's always my wife. So to work in another direction with her would be something I'd be interested in. There's just the sky's the limit. We are in Nashville currently. And yesterday we were just kind of driving around. We're like, oh, that home's cool and that thing's cool. And, oh, Waylon Jennings recorded in that home. So there's all sorts of things with history and music and design. It's all rolled into one. If I can make one job that has all of that, then I'm set.
Yeah. Speaking of the design, I noticed that in the videos and all of the imagery you got, your website, social media, there's a brightness to it. There's a vibrancy that comes out in all that. So that's all her? She's the driving force on that?
Yeah, she's the vibrancy. She's sitting next to me, so I'm going to say this like twice. Yes, she is the vibrancy, Luke.
Yes!
Say it a little louder, would you?
Yes.
What did you say about how amazing that all was?
That was amazing.
We're sitting at Arrington Vineyards, which is Kix Brooks with a country duo. It's his vineyard, and we're sitting in the car because we're like, well, we don't want to be out in the wind. It's all kind of outside, so we're like, let's sit in the car. So she's right next to me. So yeah, anything you can say.
It was
good.
Yes.
Will help me.
Yes, you keep up the design work. It's awesome. Yes, it's great. Then also in the videos, your kids. Just completely adorable, absolutely adorable. Which one do you think is most likely to do your career, and which one is most likely to do your wife's career? Or is it one of the same?
Oh no! It's all creative. I would like to think so. I have 3 girls, from 5 up to 14, and so I don't know. We try not to push anything on anybody, and I know you're not saying that, but we don't really say, oh yeah, if you did music, that'd be great, or dancing or art or something. We are like, what do they want to do? What? I mean, if it's something completely different than what I hope for them, that's okay. So I think our oldest right now is probably the most into music. She plays guitar, she's singing, she's like, I'm going to join the show choir and all these things. So probably her. I think my middle child, we don't know what she's going to be. She's going to be like, I don't know, she might be a comedian maybe. Who knows? She's so funny and witty. And our youngest is kind of a mix of the two, I feel like. So, I really don't know. It is kind of exciting to figure out or to find out what they will choose. And it's been interesting so many times, you're like, wow, she likes, volleyball, but she also likes the lute or something. Like, what does this mean? What is this going to mean for her future? I don't know. So, I think there's a lot of art in our house. We like to travel. They come to a lot of shows. They've been, when we're performing with the orchestras, I remember some of the people on the timpani were like, oh, this is how you play it. And, so it was kind of cool. They've been in studios around the country. And so I think there's something of that, but I don't know if any of them will go into music or not. And I don't know if I would tell them to, because everywhere we go, they're like, to make a living as a musician, one of the hardest things in the world. And I don't know, that may be true, but I do hope they all go into, small business and follow their passion in some way, whatever that means.
Absolutely. Your passion, obviously, on the side compared to Tonic Sofa is big band. You mentioned that the next album is more big band oriented, and more break that down a little bit further. What approach are you really zooming in on for this next project? Is it more traditional? Let's go back to the big band approach, or are you mixing it up a little? What's the artistry like with that?
Yeah, it is. Oh, you have some great questions. We're just gonna talk every day if you don't mind.
We probably should,
yeah.
Yeah.
In
the afternoon, in the daytime, not nighttime, obviously. Yes.
Absolutely, it works. I think the last album, I didn't know again that it was going to be an album. I was just writing songs. I did put them together because I did think they had a common theme, and I think there's some upbeat songs and such in it. There's a big band element to all of it because some of it, even if it's a slow song, it was always sort of passion and emotion and a crooner singing, and there's always a horn section that kind of elevates the song. So I think there was those pieces in this last album, but I wanted something when I look back on it, and for the next thing, I'm just kind of in the mood to be like, this is all going to be upbeat, this is all going to be fun. Big band, I guess I just mean that there's going to be a certain stamp of whether it's arranging or horns that you can feel that even if it has a foot in the modern era, which I mean by that is I just put some of my own influences in it, I hope, so that you can listen to it and go, well, maybe this isn't traditional big band. It's not what I think of as big band, but I can tell that he's influenced by big band. I can tell that this has big band in it. And maybe there's a song I had just written the other day that is very sort of traditional upbeat big band. I didn't intend it to be that way, but it just came out that way. So I think I just always want one foot in that big band sort of sound, and I want to pay an homage to those particular artists, but again, I can't say enough, try to do it in my own way.
More immediate will be, of course, the performance April 10th. What kind of show can folks going to Pablo Center, going to the Jam Theater there, expect on the 10th?
Yeah, it is just always, to me, it's always a party. It's always a bit of a roller coaster of trying to take people on, an emotional ride of some sort, forget what they're doing for that time. I take the entertaining sort of quality of Tonic Souls, if you've seen us or not, the a cappella group. I mean, whether we're rappelling from ceilings or bringing people on stage, it's important to me to do more than just stand there and say, oh, I'm so cool, here's another song, because I've never been cool, first of all, so that's a problem. But I definitely take that part from Tonic Solva, and in big band, you have all these amazing musicians from around the Midwest that have somehow stuck through me through this experiment. And so we just keep getting tighter and tighter as a group and traveling around the country. And I think there's more camaraderie, and I think you can see that and feel that. We got all sorts of new songs. We'll do a song or two that you know. We'll do some songs that you would definitely know, but in a big band style. And it's just kind of this giant mix to me. Some people, I think, were turned off by big band. I mean, I put big band in the title because I thought, well, that's what I love, and that's what I think all these songs are influenced by. But I've definitely had people say, oh my gosh, you shouldn't put big band. You shouldn't say that because it cuts out all these people. And then we love it. We don't know or care about big band, but we love your show. But I like that it's in there because, again, it is where I sort of rooted this particular group and what it comes out of and what I always wanted to do, and now I'm doing it. So hopefully you can see that enthusiasm on stage as well.
That'll be coming up again Sunday, April 10th in Eau Claire. Shaun Johnson and the Big Band Experience. And, of course, Made for Her. Go listen to it, platforms, buy it, et cetera, et cetera. Shaun, it was good to chat with you once again. And once again, your wife is incredible with design, so check out all the stuff she's doing as well. I'm just going to keep milking this for you as much as I can. I'm scoring you points right now. I know. Just got to put a record loop on there. So thanks again, Shaun, for taking time to chat with us today, and we'll see you down the road.